Get Sweaty with Letty, a wellness program about pain management. We've got the first episode filmed on the Get Sweaty with Letty Wellness Discovery Tour. I'm super excited about it because you are about to enjoy the most in-depth wellness interview in the history of Get Sweaty with Letty. And it's fitting that an episode of this caliber is the first to be filmed in the new sauna. Today's guest is Shawn Wells, a friend of mine for about a year and a half after we met at a music and wellness festival, and he's a big reason why I drove the sauna over to Austin, Texas. Shawn is a globally acclaimed nutritional biochemistry expert, recognized as the world's greatest formulator in the supplement industry. He's a fellow in the International Society of Sports Nutrition, working over a decade as a chief clinical dietitian and served as chief science officer for numerous supplement companies. He's also the author of international best-selling book, The Energy Formula, which was a top 20 book of the year by USA Today and Forbes. Lastly, Shawn's expertise has been showcased in documentaries such as Biohack Yourself, Supplements Revealed, Psychedelics Revealed, along with countless human optimization and biohacking podcasts. Needless to say, this is going to be a pretty badass interview. So let's get in the sauna, sit on the bench, and hear what Shawn has to say.
I'm ready.
Oh man, it feels so dang good being in the sauna on the bench with you, Shawn Wells.
Oh, thank you.
The whole reason I came down here was to have this wonderful conversation because since we became friends, one, I just wanted to spend more time with you, but then as I've been navigating into this wellness world and defining my role, it only made sense to connect with you and have you be part of this journey. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, of course. This is a blast.
And we're kind of starting with one of your beverages that you introduced.
Life Cider X as paraxanthine and apple cider vinegar.
It is so good. Do you want to tell everybody why you created this drink and what's its purpose?
Well, paraxanthine is my ingredient, but even backing up further than that, I worked on a number of ingredients over the last 20, 25 years. I have at least 40 ingredients that I brought into the world that are patented. Two of them that are popular for energy is Creatine and dynamine, and then this is a newer one called paraxanthine. It's a metabolite of caffeine. It's super clean. About 60% of the population is a slow metabolizer of caffeine according to the CYP1A2 gene. And that is the majority of us. And then if you look at the data, about 90% of people consume caffeine daily, and about 90% of those that do want to consume less. So doing the math, about 81% of the population is consuming caffeine every day and doesn't like the fact that they're consuming caffeine every day. And it tells you like how addictive it is. And this habitual relationship that we have with it, like this codependent relationship we have with it, and it's fairly abusive in the process. Most people like me have increased brain fog, anxiety, sleep disruption, arrhythmias, etc. related to caffeine. Slow metabolizers like me are having caffeine and days later clearing it out of our system. I can have a 10.5-hour half-life where it takes 10.5 hours to get to about half that level in my body. Whereas other people can have a 1.5-hour half-life. That's like a 7x difference. So there are people that can have coffee and go straight to bed, but the majority of us metabolize it slowly. And actually caffeine is the compound that's fairly toxic. It's in plants to repel insects. And it's this compound, paraxanthine, that is the thing you actually want. And unless you're like this rare, perfect metabolizer of caffeine, you're not experiencing paraxanthine. You're experiencing all the side effects and very little of the benefits. So when you clear out caffeine and some of its metabolites like theophylline and go straight to paraxanthine, you experience this nootropic cognitive lift, like enhanced serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine, increased glutathione and catalase, increased neuroplasticity with BDNF, increased nitric oxide to the brain via PDE9 inhibition, decreased beta amyloid plaque. Basically, every way I know that the brain ages, it's reversing. So it's very powerful for not only an acute, meaning like in the moment cognitive boost, but in our data, we're showing incredible effects, time effects, like where continued use has a long-lasting series of benefits that are changing and improving the health of the brain.
Wow. And, like myself, like many others, love to start the day with coffee. And it's that ritual, right? But for me, I like to have days where I'm not having coffee if possible. And when I'm not having coffee, my body notices that. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily from a sluggish standpoint, but if I'm having coffee, I pee like crazy, And when I don't have coffee, I don't. So I'm trying to navigate what I should be doing in the morning as some sort of, whether it's a morning ritual or how I get nutrients. Sometimes I wrestle with not having coffee because it's my favorite medium for getting creatine and collagen, right? And protein in the morning is super important.
Right.
So yeah, what would you have to say to that for somebody
I love
that's
that
in my situation?
And I still do coffee. I just do decaffeinated coffee. The Swiss water method. It has been shown that some of the chemical decaffeination processes are harsh and can leave behind solvents that are not ideal. Decaf coffee can be less healthy than regular coffee if it is some of these other methods. But if you get like an organic, mold-free, Swiss water method decaffeination, it's awesome. It's super clean. You get the taste. Like there's, I think some companies like Life Boost, Purity, like there's some good brands out there that would have coffee like this. And so that's what I would look into. I like using it as a medium for my collagen, MCTs, protein, etc. You have to be careful with the protein. It can denature the protein because of the heat. So you have to get like a highly hydrolyzed, heat-treated protein to prevent that denaturation. You'll see like the denatured protein actually kind of like clump and agglomerate. And if that's happening to your protein, that's a bad sign.
Not the right protein.
So you do want to get like one that's like highly hydrolyzed. Actually, Ghost, they make some good proteins that you can use in particular, like with hot liquids. They make like some hot cocoa proteins, but there's a number of companies. Just make sure it's a highly hydrolyzed protein. Yeah,
I love that. Very cool. Well, I'm glad that we were able to talk about this lovely drink. But you are a man of many talents, skills, knowledge base. When it comes to like who you are in a nutshell, or what your goal, like specific goal in life is, like what would you say that is, Shawn?
Well, I can tell you that like I had a difficult childhood growing up, and it's not something like I used to tell that story a lot and really go into depth with it and talk about my depression and suicidal thoughts, and that feels like a different chapter in my life that I no longer need to dwell on. But it did create a person that was driven with imposter syndrome, that was abusive to myself, that was very insecure, that would play out loops of negative comments that someone would make to me, or the way I would interpret it as being negative, even when it wasn't. And that led to endless drive. And maybe in some ways, obviously, that may have served me early on, just with 100-hour work weeks and being at the office until 11 p.m., being at the office on Saturday and Sunday, showing up at 7 a.m., like literally working 100+ hour work weeks, never turning it off. That was a place for me that was quickly leading towards my demise, either directly, like a lot of men that are driven like this, that live with pain. A lot of entrepreneurs in our spaces we see that are very wounded, And again, it serves them early on. But you hit some point where it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable mentally, physically, spiritually, and where you're self-soothing with food, alcohol, nicotine, drugs, women, gambling, etc., 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 like insert unhealthy vice. And we're all just trying to get by. But at some point, like I said, it's not sustainable. And for me, I was really close to throwing it all away, throwing it in. And I did my first experience in psychedelics, and it really, along with my facilitators, saved my life. In that experience, I had people that were celebrities around me, like some of the most noteworthy people in biohacking, in health, like 6-time New York Times bestsellers, people that have made hundreds of millions in the space. Like if I went through the list, you'd be like, whoa. And I felt like the biggest no one at this journey. And so I didn't introduce myself, because normally when I entered rooms, I would say, like, here's all the reasons that you should love me. Here's the reasons that I'm important. Give my resume. And I felt so intimidated, so much imposter syndrome. I didn't do that. And I was kind of a wallflower. And I went pretty deep into this journey. And all of these people were being incredibly nice to me. And I was like, why? You don't know my value. My value is derived from what I can accomplish, what I can do for you. And they kept helping me all night long, being kind to me, holding space for me, helping me to the bathroom, like getting food or water for me, like literally just listening to me, like while I was talking about how, oh, the colors or things are shifting. And this was my first time. And then it hit me that I can have love and be loved, and that love was not conditional. And up until that point, I believed that love was 1000% conditional. You could tell me that I could have love and be loved, and I would just say, yep, okay. Like I would rationalize it, but I didn't anchor that in my heart. And feeling that in that space, knowing that love was possible for me, and that unconditional love was possible between myself, God, a partner, shifted everything. Everything in my life. And at the time I was in a very platonic marriage, and eventually I worked my way out of that in a very loving way, did a conscious uncoupling, and I still think she's a great human being, but we just weren't meant to be because it wasn't really founded in the right way. We were just more like brother and sister and kind of helping each other.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been able to find an incredible partner who you've met, Hannah.
I love it. Hannah, you're the best.
And my whole world has shifted. My whole life has shifted. Just inviting love in for myself and knowing that my value is not my list of accomplishments. Knowing that if I just sit here with you, that I have value.
Yes, you do.
And to feel that, to anchor that, shifts everything. Not only like in your own life, but how you treat other people. Because we're all projecting. And if you read like the 4 Agreements, which was definitely one of the most profound books I've ever dove into, I mean, he talks about that we're constantly projecting on others, and instead of projecting your pain and insecurities, you can project your self-love onto others. You can see the things in others that you wish to see in yourself, and it can become like this endless game of up-leveling where everything you see is love and positive. And it may sound, if someone's listening right now and it sounds like ridiculous, I would encourage you to do some deep inner work, because you can have it. You can have love, you can be love, you can surround yourself with love, you can up level, you can NLP the out of yourself.
Yes.
You can reframe. The most powerful people, the most successful people, the number one trait besides having a morning routine is that they have the ability to reframe. They're power reframers. The universe is always working on my behalf. Everything is happening for me. That was a lesson. Instead of like, oh, that sucks, or dang, I knew that would happen to me. Isn't that interesting? You're the curious explorer. And every day is something new to explore and find out whether it serves you or doesn't serve you. But nothing sucks. Nothing's a 0 or a 10 per se. Everything is just a curious exploration, and oh, that's interesting. Does that work for me or does that not work for me? Does that serve me or not serve me? And maybe it doesn't serve me now, but maybe it serves me later. And so that's the fun of this process of doing the deep inner work. And I learned after probably a few years of doing that deep inner work that I shed the idea of it being work.
Yeah.
That I started calling it inner play and getting back to the child inside. When you were a child, you experienced peak states so easily. You had joy, you had bliss, you had like zen, you had like deep sleep and dreams. You could access peak states so easily. And then somewhere in our adulting process, we dampen down our spirit, our light, our aura, and we lose the ability to tap into those peak states. So I would encourage anyone listening to start looking within and start tapping into those peak states.
I can totally attest. Been doing a lot of work on myself for the past few years. Well, you know, life has been a piece of work, right? But for the past few years, I've really honed in on like leaning into my true authentic self, defining what that is, really trying to focus on my relationships, you know, my relationship with my wife, who's also been a coworker for such a long time. And we're trying to go through the process of, you know, what does our relationship look like going forward? You know, we want to be husband and wife and be known for being husband and wife instead of being known for being coworkers, you know? So I can understand how important it is to have that true companion in your life, and I'm grateful that I do. But, you know, getting to this point, psychedelics has incredibly helped me reframe the situations that I have to navigate in life. And they've allowed me to reframe the difficult situations that have gotten me up to this point, to understand that they happened for a reason. They didn't happen for a bad reason. They happened for the right reason.
At the right time.
At the right time, exactly. And even though it doesn't necessarily feel the best at that time, you have to go through that in order to continue to transform into your true self. And I think psychedelics can really allow you to dive into that proper reframing of the situation and have a better understanding of it so that you can continue to evolve into your true self.
Yeah, you're turning off default mode network, which is the ego. You're taking the ego offline, which has all these constructs that tell you your identity, who you are, these constructs you built through your life that aren't actually you and your truth. They are the reframing, many of them negative reframes or identity constructs, some of them positive, some of them are helping you get through your day and telling yourself stories about who you are and what you should be and all of these things. Also, there's increased neuroplasticity in these spaces with psychedelics. You're increasing BDNF, NGF, mTOR, these proteins that make new neurons, neurogenesis, but also make them more neuroplastic, meaning they're kind of renewed and more powerful, if you will, to allow yourself to do more neurological, more brain work and make changes. There's a lot of energy used when you're making changes.
Yeah.
You're creating new neural pathways. The idea of, like Michael Pollan has talked about this, like where, you know, you've skied down the same slope over and over and over and you're going down the same ski tracks. Why? Because it's less energy for the brain. Is that the best path now? Maybe it was the best path years ago. Maybe it was never the best path. Maybe it was someone else's path. But what psychedelics would do would be to throw fresh powder over those tracks, and now you're going to decide what's the best path down. That's that neuroplasticity. And then you're also turning on all the neurotransmitters. You're cranking them up. A lot of people subscribe to the idea of serotonin being the depression neurotransmitter, or the feel-good neurotransmitter. That's like really overly simplistic. Multiple meta-analyses, one in 2017, one in 2022, have talked about serotonin for depression being a very flawed theory, along with SSRIs and SSNRIs, that those are not necessarily effective and in many cases more counterproductive. What we do see in depression is that all of the neurotransmitters are turned down: norepinephrine, epinephrine, endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're all turned down so that your brain feels less. You're processing less. There's trauma coming in and it's like saying, let's turn it down. Even your senses are more dull. Your eyesight, your hearing, you're taking in less. And in psychedelics, it's the reverse. Your eyes, you're seeing colors and things that you haven't before, things that are there, as well as things that you may perceive as not being there. Maybe they're in the 5D, maybe they're not. Just depends on your interpretation of that. But you're hearing things like more acutely. You're like, you know, sometimes you're hearing things in like other parts of the house that there's no way that you'd be able to hear. And then I could get really deep on some woo stuff that I didn't even believe until more recently as a scientist. But I've done generational work and really worked through lineage in my DNA that kind of blew me away. But there is real science behind why psychedelics work. And what I love about what you're saying is that we're here in this sauna because of the idea of hormesis. The idea that scientifically a hormetic stressor, meaning something that stresses your body in an ideal way, so the right amount of stress creates the right amount of adaptation. This is a powerful way to do that, just like cold plunging, and then certainly the contrasting where you do both. You're stressing your body, in this case thermically, to make new adaptations and changes. The same is true, like you're saying, with psychedelics and you going through difficult periods to get through to better periods where you're clearing out stuck energy, you're clearing out trauma. And this is real, like for anyone listening that may have doubts, like when you shed trauma, when you shed stuck energy, you can feel the difference in your body. I've seen people look 10 years younger coming out of a journey, just shedding that stuff. But this is a powerful effect of hormesis, that you are moving through something difficult, you're moving through unease to get to greater periods of ease because you're more resilient, you're more adaptable.
I love that. And I want to, essentially like identity, being stuck in an identity, that's a huge form of pain, because you're trapped in this mindset that is not allowing you to move forward, and you get stuck in that, right? And you're comfortable being in that form of pain in a sense because it's hard to move forward, but psychedelics can allow you to move forward and become your true self. And I want to focus on that in a little bit here, but it's time to throw some more logs on this fire and get this thing really piping hot.
Let's go.
You ready for that?
Let's go.
All right. Toss some more logs in the fire. We're roaring. We
cold plunge.
We did a little cold plunge. We'll take you with us one of the next times that we do that, but we just decided to sneak one in because why not? Am I right?
We're actually at a Residence Inn.
Shout out to Marriott.
Shout out to Marriott.
Yeah.
And there was a lady out there that was eating her lunch, and this is like mid-February, and the pool was ice cold. As soon as I started taking off my shirt, she's like, "No way."
Should we? Yeah.
She's like,
Made her day.
I'm gonna take a video of these two idiots."
Yeah.
So we're probably on someone's Facebook and Instagram right now as just being the two ding-dongs that jumped in the pool. But
Yeah, we didn't capture the video ourselves, but we can get the content from her after this.
exactly.
So we're cracking open a new beverage here. This is Life Cider. It's an organic, tasty, sparkling berry pear version that I have. You got mango citrus.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about this and why you created it.
Well, I'm working with a company that this was their product, but I worked on the reformulation. I have equity in this company, and they are the ones that have Life Cider X that has paraxanthine and a bunch of nootropics, as well as the apple cider vinegar. The founder, JP, had a lot of GI issues, type 2 diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, and apple cider vinegar had really solved a lot of that. Something called hypochlorhydria, where you have not enough stomach acid. And like apple cider vinegar was like a savior to him. And then he started like making his own drink with like lemon juice, apple cider vinegar, some of the spices, like kind of like that master cleanse type thing. And started playing around with honey, started playing around with it, and then adding some extra vitamins to it. And he believed like, maybe I should make this as a drink. And since then, now this is in Walmart and a ton of places, and it's exploded, and Life Cider X is exploding. This one's just one that kids can have, anyone can have, you can drink throughout the day. It doesn't have the paraxanthine. It's just healthy, all organic ingredients. The Life Cider X is organic as well. And these are just fully natural, but you have your choice between kind of a nootropic stimulated one versus just a great anytime beverage.
Nice. And it's delicious.
It is.
How about that?
And I work with a lot of companies, so just to speak to that, I am a formulator, and I've formulated over 1,200 products. And like if you go into a GNC, a Vitamin Shop, Walmart, even half the stuff on Amazon, I've touched in various different ways. I've helped 11 companies go to sale, have mergers and acquisitions. I've done a lot of due diligence and data room creation and prep for acquisition, and that's been a huge part of my story too. And I have a huge team where we are plug and play. We can do the entire supplement company for you, like the sourcing, the flavor work, the stability work, QA, QC, like all the testing, like packaging, like we do tons of stuff. So, and then I also create content for a lot of these companies. So I have equity in a number of them, and I serve as like a fractional CSO for a number of them. One is Update, where we just brought on Kim Kardashian, and it's a paraxanthine drink as well. And it's launching today in Walmart, all 4,200 stores. So that's a big launch, completely rebranded and re-flavored for Kim Kardashian. So it's a huge launch. I work with like Mind Valley, if you know Vision. Like I'm an author. I did the Ultimate Guide to Supplements on the Mind Valley platform, and I've spoke on stage with them a bunch, but I also formulated a whole product line for them called Mind Valley States, that's actually around getting into these peak states, and you can combine states, you can formulate your state. It's a really cool concept where we have bliss and zen and dream and gasm and focus, and these are like really powerful formulas that are truly experiential. That was like the goal. So, and I've done flavor work with tons of companies. I've done anti-aging serums, pet supplements and pet food, like functional food. Like I've done tons of stuff for tons of companies. I'm known as the supplement guy or the ingredientologist. I
love the ingredientologist. The world's greatest formulator is the best moniker though.
Yeah, that was a friend of mine. That wasn't self-given, and it just stuck like early on in my career because I was just so passionate about it. I grew up with my mom selling Shaklee in the 70s, if you know. It's this European kind of MLM that was early on, even before like Advocare and Nu Skin, and before like doTERRA and all these other MLMs. Nu Skin is Herbalife. But back then there was Shackley, and she had like the little tackle box, and I remember like, you know, vitamin C everyone was talking about because of Linus Pauling. People are taking like grams of vitamin C because it's so powerful. And then we had the vitamin E soft gel, and if I had a cut or a scrape, like she would like break it open, put it on me. And you know, there was this power bar type thing that they had, like a whole food bar that had vitamins in it, and they had the Vita-Lee that was like a whole food multivitamin, and they were just way ahead of their time. And certainly my mom was ahead of her time, and she gave me this like supplement encyclopedia back in the day, and I definitely believed in the power of supplements and loved all that stuff. So definitely shout out to Mom. Well, so to close the loop on when you asked me like, why am I doing this, or who am I mentioned the story that was pretty pivotal in my life. But ultimately, like so many in this space, the wounded healer, the hero's journey, you know, there's so many of us that have been through so much pain, hurt, health-wise, whether it is mental, spiritual, physical, etc. And we want to save others from going through that experience. I don't want to be a savior. One thing I've learned in psychedelics is you need to save yourself. And if anyone that you're working with, be it a coach, a facilitator, certainly someone who calls themselves a guru or whatever, think about that. You want them to facilitate you. Obi-Wan taught Luke Skywalker, and then Luke Skywalker teaches Rey, and Mr. Miyagi taught the Karate Kid, and you know, the Karate Kid then teaches the Cobra Kai and whatever. Like, you know, this is the hero's journey where you're not the hero anymore. I went through my journey. I'm still going through my journey, of course, but I'm here to teach and facilitate others so they don't have to suffer like I did. But it is them who will make the changes, and it is their truth, not my truth. Not my truth I'm projecting on them. So that's important. Like, a doctor never saves you. A doctor facilitates you saving yourself. Don't give away your power. Live in your truth. Take back your power. You have the ability to heal yourself. And here's the thing, you were never even broken in the first place.
I love that. You know, I can just relate to that wholeheartedly because, yeah, I'm trying to do the exact same thing. You know, my pain happened for a reason. I wasn't supposed to become a successful hockey player and play in the NHL. I was supposed to take the physical lumps that led to physical pain, that turned into mental pain, that took my identity and warped it so I didn't know who I was, and I was trying to hold on to some semblance of how I got to this point. And this, now I guess I'm coming back around into the identity framework of pain, because we all move through different identities in our life, right? You're never just the same person for 50 years, right? And that's why like life is a cycle, and we're sitting here on the final day of the year of the snake, right? The shedding. And I feel like I'm going through a shedding right now, and it's not the first time. Right?
And that shedding isn't bad.
It is not bad. I'm not, and exactly, It is not bad. Mm-hmm. Do you want to touch on that?
Well, I've done some work in Peru, and my facilitators talked about the spirit animals in Peru, and there is the puma, which is that masculine, go get it, like energy, right? That, you know, and know that when I say masculine, feminine, irrespective of your gender, like, we embody these different energies, and the more you do the work, the more you can fluidly flow in between these energies, resiliently move to different energies that best suit you in that moment. Then there's the snake. And the snake is about transformation and grounding. And then finally there's the condor, which is that feminine energy, that's that kind of the flight, the being above it all, the, God's eye view, like looking down on the world and, choosing what to engage in or not engage in. And, you're preserving your energy, you're healing, like it's a good space to be in. The problem with Puma is a lot of men are wounded Pumas, and we are carrying around battle scars and bleeding out, and we're attacking at times we're not supposed to attack. We're chasing things we're not supposed to chase. We're not getting into that shedding snake energy. We're certainly not getting into the condor energy, being up above it all. We have a hard time getting there. So this is about getting into those various energies as it's called for throughout your life. To your point, like as your identity shifts or as the time calls for different energies, you embody that. And so that's a great metaphor.
Yeah. For me, I had a pretty significant depression in my early 20s. Mm-hmm. And I write about in my book how specifically psilocybin was a game changer for me. It completely allowed me to reframe what injuries meant to me and what they did to my life, and how they took my identity as a hockey player and eliminated that, for a lack of a better word. And now for a period in my early 20s, I was navigating life with this identity that I was a hockey player, but I wasn't anymore. I was, my mind was telling me that I was a failure in a sense, because I didn't achieve this status that I felt I was supposed to achieve. Mm-hmm. And having this understanding through the form of psychedelics that, what happened to me is not bad. It's just what happened to me, right? And then it's what I can do with that helps determine, my path in life. And I could have just stayed frustrated, and I could have wallowed in my loss of identity, but I understood it, I appreciated it, I made amends with it, and I was able to move forward into this next identity. And, that next identity was operating my lake weed removal business. I was teaching hockey instead of being the player, in my own right. And I slowly evolved through that depression to become comfortable with myself again. And I've done this again, throughout the years as I've just evolved into who Josh Letty is.
That's
awesome. And I really do have psychedelics to thank for that.
Yeah, I love the line in Rocky V, and Sylvester Stallone is one of those people that, for all his faults, is mentally tough. If you listen to his story and what he's been through, incredible. And in Rocky V, it just feels like him spouting off about truth to his son at the time, who's kind of acting entitled, and he says, like, life will beat you down if you let it. And it's not about how hard you get hit. It's how you take that hit and keep getting back up, and how you keep moving through those punches, and how you'll proceed through life, right? Because what's cool about that is there's the resilience of reframing, of how you get back up, how you can absorb the punches and then even turn those punches into power. That's that hormesis. But I also like the line when he says, like, if you let it. If it's part of your identity that you're getting beat up all the time, or that you deserve this, what's happening to you? I certainly believed that when I was hurting. That was my identity. Like, I deserve this. It's who I am. Who would I be without all this pain? Because I'm stronger because of it. I believed in the Jocko, the Gary Vee, the hustle culture, the grinding, the 3 a.m., kicking my own ass because I suck. Embrace the suck. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying all of that is bad, but it can be, at some point, toxic. Again, you have to be able to get into energies and move through energies. And there's times when maybe that works, and other times when you need to surrender. And, life, sometimes, strength in life is through surrender. Are you surrendering into it when it's called for? Are you trying to fight what life is showing you?
Yeah. This is the beginning of the next phase of my life, and I can constantly go back and I can visit previous identities and enjoy them, and they still, you know, and I appreciate them, right? Yeah. There's nothing that I haven't done that I don't appreciate wholeheartedly, but it is just this moving forward in life that is very powering. It's like I'm accepting this new challenge. It's not going to be easy. Anything good doesn't come easy, right? And there is extreme reward in persevering through the deep water or the quicksand to get to, you know, a runway of life and success.
As long as it's periods of, then it's hormesis, right? Like if it's periods of unease, then that levels you up to have more ease in uneasy situations. If it's chronic unease, that becomes dis-ease. So you have to be careful to get into those different energies. I was talking about the Peruvian spirit animals, but the same idea with like the Chinese yin and yang, with the, you know, Tai Chi and these ideas, like where there's a balance, there's a flow between the masculine and feminine, and you see the light in the dark, and, you know, the black and the white, and the masculine and the feminine, and they're kind of molding into each other. It's really important to have that mindset of, you know, there's times to go get it, times to shed, time to surrender.
When you went through your first, you know, I guess, surrendering process of yourself, like what was that feeling like for you?
Difficult. It's like freeing and difficult at the same time. It's freeing that you've kind of taken everything out from under the carpet that you've been sweeping there for years, and there's this giant lumpy carpet throughout your house that you've been stepping on, and you know there's stuff underneath there, stuff you keep sweeping under there, and there's some huge mountains and spaces, right?
Yeah.
And you know that at some point I've got to take a look at this. At some point I need to get honest. At some point I need to be in my truth. And the freedom of seeing your truth, of acknowledging your truth, is the first step. But then the hardest step, and this is where the facilitation, the integration comes in. That's why any good facilitator will talk about, yes, like, you know, you set your intentions. Yes, you have your psychedelic experience that can be profound. But the work, the real work that's done, is that integration work. As Ram Dass talks about, the real work is the work that's done in your own heart. And that is in the months and years following up after that. Otherwise, it's a big epiphany. And I actually think it can do more harm than good if you see your truth and then just go about sweeping it back under the rug and do nothing about it.
Yeah, that's living in that painful identity that you can't get away from. And pain, physical pain is an indicator. It's basically an alarm system saying, hey, something's wrong over here. We need to do something about it. And physical pain is easier to deal with. Usually you can see it or more directly feel it. But when it comes to, mental pain, I feel like anxiety is that open wound that's telling you something. Why are you anxious, right? I feel that if you do have anxiety in your life, anxiety requires action. You need to take action to eliminate that type of anxiety, and that's where I believe psychedelics can help with that, because you're going in and you are facing that mental pain head on.
And it can be a good thing that, the anxiety may be fear of change, but a much needed change. It may be that you can finally step on stage and you're scared to step on stage, or take that new job, or leave that toxic relationship, or whatever it is. Like, there can be trepidation, there can be anxiety about that. And you have to learn to delineate by acknowledging it, by looking at it and saying, isn't this interesting? What is this trying to teach me? I love the Inside Out movies from Pixar. They go through the acknowledgement of all these emotions and how you can integrate all these emotions, that no emotion is a bad emotion. They're all signals, and we're meant to acknowledge and release. Thank you for the intuition. Thank you for the clarity, and I will set you free now. I'm done with you. And so, yeah, that can be very powerful, is learning how to work with and acknowledge emotion.
Yeah, and going back to just, the facilitator comment, I think it is incredibly necessary for anybody that's going to get into this type of deep work that you do utilize a facilitator. Because,
Yes.
just trying to do this by yourself in your own home or, at a party or what have you, that is not the right environment. You need to focus on set and setting, and you need to set your body up for success.
Yeah.
I talk to so many people that are like, oh yeah, I had some mushrooms, it was really bad. And I go, well, what did you do earlier that evening? Oh, I was drinking with some friends and we were partying. I'm like, yeah, you're just poisoning your body before you try to do some sort of healing. Like, that's not going to work. The alcohol isn't going to let the psilocybin or the other medicine do its thing, or bad food, processed food, that's not going to do it either. We need natural, good food. And that's half the battle post experience as well, is you need to continue to do those things and feed your body and mind the right nutrients so that it can regenerate itself.
And grant yourself grace for all that you've been through, how everything in the past has served you. Everything up until now has been a lesson, and you're so proud of yourself for having made it through this, that you've survived and to now thriving through the abuse physically, mentally, spiritually. And isn't your body beautiful and resilient? And now it's time to acknowledge that, set that free, and say that no longer serves me. I'm moving on.
Yeah. Should we do a little sneaky plunge and come back in here?
Let's do it.
All right, we're gonna sneak a little plunge in. We're gonna come back in here. We're not breaking the rules of how we do our episode here, but this is episode number 1 in the new sauna. We're in Austin, Texas. We got Shawn Wells in the house. So we're gonna go plunge. We're gonna come back here and we're gonna talk a little bit more. Not as big as Lake Minnetonka, but it is one of the bigger plunges that we've gone into. What temp do you think this is right now?
55?
Yeah, it's like perfect cold temp for anybody. All walks of life can come right into this plunge right here.
Yeah.
We're gonna embrace it right now. Oh yeah.
Especially cold after the sauna.
That feels incredible. We're probably sitting 170 in that sauna. So about 120 degree difference between the plunge and the sweat.
My favorite part is that you say sauna correctly, because I spend a lot of time in Finland and Estonia, where everyone saunas. Kids, old people, whatever, you're just there with grandma, whatever lady, kids, and then you jump in the sea and you come back and you do some more sauna, and they even have them like in hotel rooms. Like it's crazy.
I have yet to venture over to Finland, Estonia, that area, but it's coming soon. And when I do come, you watch out. You want to do a little dip and then you go back in?
Let's do it.
Oh yeah, I feel like a new man. So good. Plunge number 2 is pretty fantastic.
Let's go.
We didn't have anybody filming us this time, but I'm sure we had some takers up in the rooms, right?
True. I did publicly pee outside, so
Yeah.
maybe there was someone filming that.
I was doing a dance distracted. Oh man, I'm really enjoying our conversation on supplements and psychedelics.
Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Let's dive back into the supplement
Yeah.
topic here, because as I mentioned to you earlier, Melissa and I have dove into the world of supplements after getting into it a few years ago, having a friend of mine saying, hey, you guys should just have your own supplement line, and then having tons of people back home just being like, hey, what should I take? Well, now it's easy to just offer up the things that we have, but Shawn, we need to make something together.
Let's do it. We need to get you out of like a white label. What I don't like about white label, I think it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
So for those that don't even know what white label is, it just means someone else has made this formulation. You're labeling over it, so to speak, with your own label. It's a nice bridge to kind of get going, but eventually you want to get into a space where it's your own product. It's flavored how you want. It's formulated how you want. It's the right number of servings. It has your touch to go with whatever your branding is, because this is like what we were talking about before, about being in your own truth. Am I just letting someone project on me and tell me what I am? Because it feels like that a little bit when you're white labeling. I mean, you can find good products, high quality products, but at some point...
I don't mean to jump in, but I can totally like understand that, because I love the product. It tastes great, but it isn't mine.
Exactly.
I am the middleman right now, and it's better than nothing.
Yep.
Right. But yeah, I want to do the work and create something based on my own experiences on what I think a product should contain.
Exactly. And what it contains is really important. I've spoken a lot about a lot of the myths, and I've achieved some virality with some of the things that really would make us fearful about supplements. So right now on Amazon, about 80% of the products, when tested by Now Foods, by Supco, there's a few different sources, about 80% test below the label level. 80%.
That's
4
disgusting.
out of 5. And about 1 out of 5 or so, like 20 to 30%, have no active at all. No active at all. This was Now Foods that tested 14 different ingredients, single ingredient products across a host of companies. Literally, think about that. 2 or 3 out of 10, at least 1 out of 4 have no active at all, and they're being sold on Amazon. And if you're getting it at a really great price, and it's Amazon choice because it's $6.88 for something that should be $20, well, that's a red flag right there. Add to it some of the elite brands that you know and love. Let's say like a Thorne in healthcare practitioner, or Muscle Tech when it comes to sports nutrition. These brands get counterfeited a lot. And about 20% of the products from the biggest and best named companies on Amazon are counterfeit. So you have to be very careful who you're buying from when you're on Amazon. Make sure it is a company that has a great reputation for quality control. I will go through that list right now. There's companies like Thorne, Pure Encapsulations, Designs for Health, Zymogen, Now Foods, Jarrow, Doctor's Best, Nordic Naturals, Barleans. These are like some Puritan's Pride. These are brands that have the quality control, and the more expensive brands have kind of the ultimate level of assurance, like where there's elite level of testing for fillers, excipients, heavy metals, bacteria, etc., like beyond just actives. And that's what's really important too, is to make sure not only are you getting what you're wanting in the formula, but you're not getting the things you don't want, which is that bacteria and heavy metals and things like that, this cross-contamination that, you know, especially for a pro athlete, could cost you your career, but certainly these things could potentially cost you your health. And that is a huge concern with supplements. So buy from a trusted company, buy one product at a time, see how it works for you. And if it works for you, then adopt that one and then try the next thing. But don't shotgun a bunch of supplements and then tell me that supplements don't work, because you need to buy better supplements.
Yeah, and it's not like you're just going to take a supplement and like the world is going to change. You know, you need to do the work similar to psychedelics. Is you need to put the right things into your body to support the right thing that you're trying to put in the body, or the right thing you're trying to do to your mind.
They're supplemental.
Oh,
they really are.
Yes.
They really are. You need to have the foundation. And yeah, that's exactly what we talked about with psychedelics, is the foundation needs to be there. Same with biohacking. I became an expert in biohacking, and all the sleep biohacks, all the supplement biohacks, all the exercise biohacks. But I was abusing my body and mind through that process. I was the wounded puma. I was the imposter syndrome entrepreneur. And these things were helping me to survive the abuse I was putting on my body.
It's prolonging that abusive state.
It's prolonging the abusive state and kind of pushing off the red flags. But meanwhile, if you do these biohacks on top of a healthy spirit, mindset, physical body, whoa, then watch out.
Right. Yeah. So your trajectory is going to just soar through the roof.
Exactly.
I like to, when it comes to, pain in our lives, whether it's physical or mental, say that you've got this scale from here to here, right? We start feeling pretty good. And then when you start to get into physical discomfort or mental discomfort, you move back a little bit, right? And our society is so reactive that we're not even reacting to that, right? It needs to get worse. It needs to that baseline of pain needs to move even further. And then you try to do something that's gonna make it better, right? And you might move the needle a little bit, but you've never gotten it back to that initial state where you were at, right? And we get comfortable with this minimal progress that's not even taking us back to that good state that we were in, because we're just so comfortable moving so fast in life and doing the things that we were going to do. We're not trying to supplement our lifestyles in the best way possible. And when you're doing the work to really improve yourself, you need to add those supplements in to continue to move your baseline forward.
Exactly. So you can notice the nuance. This is really important. Notice the nuance, because normally when we're driving so hard, when we're coming from a wounded place, when we're dealing with all of our crap just day to day, these untruths that we're living in, you're not noticing the nuance. You need to be hit over the head with a sledgehammer. You need a bang with 400 milligrams of caffeine. You need like these nicotine pouches or whatever to get you through. You need to have 6 drinks instead of 1 drink. Think about this. And it's same with supplements, where now I notice ashwagandha or rhodiola or a B12. Like, whereas before people would say, like, I don't feel anything. I need the extreme stimulant. I need the extreme depressant to feel anything. Think about that. Think about that. If you're not noticing things that shift your body in nuanced ways, then you're not tuned into your body. You're gaslighting yourself spiritually, physically, mentally, and pushing past all the red flags, or the green flags, if you will.
Yeah, and you're going to continue to take that baseline of pain and move it backwards by not being able to feel what's good for you.
Exactly.
And there you are. That's when you're stuck in this identity framework that is holding you back, thus creating pain in your life on a mental standpoint that then might manifest itself into physical pain. And all of a sudden now you're trying to trace this physical pain back to a physical injury, but it was actually in the mind. And how are you gonna fix that, right? That's where you need to do the deep work. You need to supplement your diet with the things that are gonna support a healthy lifestyle and evolving into your true self.
Yes, exactly. You get it. Well, let's get into like some amazing supplements. Let's give them the technical info.
Yeah.
So some of the ingredients I've worked on, we already talked about paraxanthine or even T-cream and dynamine. These are great ingredients that are nootropics, that are for energy. If you want to really dive into neuroplasticity, if you want enhanced verbal acuity or fluency, meaning like words just come easy to you, especially socially, increase BDNF. And not only is paraxanthine good, but something called 7,8-dihydroxyflavone, 7,8-DHF, or even better is 4-dimethylamino, DMA, 7,8-dihydroxyflavone. You can get this one on Amazon, a company called Nootropics Depot. It is a powerful compound for neuroplasticity. I know that the ingredient sounds a little overwhelming. 4-DMA, 7,8-dihydroxyflavone. You can, we'll put it into the show notes or something like that. But go and get this, and especially if you break a capsule and put it under your tongue for sublingual or buccal absorption, that's even more powerful. It'll literally go straight to the brain, and you will feel this one, and you will feel sharper, especially when you're communicating and things like that. Some other ones. So ergothioneine. This is the active antioxidant and ergogenic aid, meaning enhancing energy, from mushrooms. In particular, it's highest in something called king oyster. But ergothioneine is a mitochondrial antioxidant, and it's about to become a new vitamin, and we haven't had a new vitamin in many, many, many decades. So this is really exciting. Your body has a unique transporter system for it, the ETT or the OCTN1. It has a unique storage system for it. And in populations that consume the most ergothioneine, they live about 7 years longer compared to those that consume the least. And this is a straight line correlation across many countries. So, and this is like factoring in things like diet and exercise and a lot of lifestyle factors. So this is a powerful, powerful antioxidant. Experiment with doses like 25, 50, 100 milligrams a day. Next one, creatine. Creatine is not just for muscles, not just for guys, not just for bodybuilders. It is for the brain. It is powerful for the brain. It has passive transport in the brain instead of active transport like muscles. So to get some of the nootropic, the cognitive effects, you really want to take higher doses. So this is where taking in the studies like upwards of 20 grams in a serving or a day at least is more powerful. So if you're having a hard time, I just put the powder in my mouth so I don't lose any of it, and then I kick it back with some water. But if you're having a hard time with it and you want to mix it in something, it'll mix easier if you have a warm to lukewarm solution. Don't get hot, but a warm solution, it'll mix in easier. And you can take that and you will notice brain boosting benefits. There was a study with those that were getting 5 hours of sleep versus 8, and they were performing as well as those that had 8 when they got the 20 grams. Next up, beta amino isobutyric acid. It's called an exerkine. It simulates exercise in your body. So when you're exercising intensely, your body naturally releases this compound, and your body hears it and sees it and says, oh, we need to make all these cool adaptations that are associated with intense exercise. Improve VO2 max, improve glycogen storage, improve fat utilization and lipolysis, improved ketone utilization, improved muscle mass, strength, improved bone mineral density, everything you can think of. And so this compound, we've shown that enhances that signal. So you take more of it, it's like doing more reps or more steps.
Who wouldn't want that?
Exactly. And then dileucine, this is another one that I brought to the market. If you know leucine is the key amino acid in your BCAAs, your EAAs, or your protein powder. And it drives muscle protein synthesis, MPS, which is anabolic. It's an anabolic process, meaning helps grow or maintain muscle tissue. And this is key as we age, especially because of sarcopenia, aging and muscle loss, or in disease, they call it cachexia. Muscle is the most important determinant of how well we age. That and purpose, which I can get into a little bit later. But physically, muscle strength and having muscle mass is incredibly important. One of the best predictors is actually grip strength. And so dileucine has been shown, it's a dipeptide of leucine. So it's two leucines put together. It bypasses normal digestion and uses this PEP1 transporter to go ahead of all of the substrate, meaning all the little building blocks from your protein, and tell it what to do and where to go. And so dileucine increases muscle protein synthesis 60% over regular leucine. It's 189% faster. We saw 159% more strength and endurance. Like, it is a powerful, powerful compound. And you can't get to that place just by taking more leucine. It's about how quick it is. So those are some breakthrough ingredients that I thought I'd drop on you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Can you just define nootropics for anyone out there?
Sure. Nootropics, N-O-O means cognitive or brain. It's Latin. And then tropic or trophic means to enhance or growth. So myotrophic would mean, myo means muscle, trophic means increasing or growth. That would mean increasing muscle. And so, and then lysis actually means to cut. So just giving you like a little lesson on Latin. And, if you hear lipolysis, lipo is fat. Lysis is to cut. So it's literally breaking down fat. So, and then lipogenesis would be creation of fat. Neurogenesis would be creation of new brain cells, neurons. So hopefully that helps when you're reading these cool terms in these studies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Isha's gonna have a field day putting all this information into the episode. Well, you touched on it's basically enhancing protein synthesis, or the protein or the muscle building process. Should we go into the cold plunge right now again and fast track that process in the form of some contrast therapy?
Let's freaking go.
Get the hat trick in us right now.
The hat trick.
All right,
let's
we're
go
going for the hat trick. All right, plunge number 3 in the books. I'm feeling pretty great.
Oh, I'm feeling amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, as we were talking a little bit on our walk back here about peptides, do you want to dive into that before we wrap this whole thing up?
Yeah, well, since I'm a biochemist, a dietitian, a formulator, a sport nutritionist, all the things. I can talk about peptides with you, and obviously they've gotten very hot. What is a peptide? A peptide is simply a protein, but typically what people mean when they say peptide is they mean these bioregulatory signals that are naturally occurring in the body that are made up of amino acids and, yes, are in fact proteins / peptides. Think of growth hormone, actually a hormone, or insulin. Those are both actually proteins made up of amino acids. So those are signals to do very important things. Growth hormone helps you grow. It helps with repair and recovery. Insulin obviously helps you deal with blood glucose, blood sugar. So there's a lot of peptides that are getting very popular right now, like BPC 157, body protection compound. It's made in the gut, and it is a healing peptide. Pretty powerful at that. Like literally people are avoiding getting surgeries on their knees or rotator cuffs or things like that. It certainly helps with day-to-day recovery and inflammation and healing. If you've just had a surgery, that could be very powerful as well. Things like and along the lines like the Wolverine stack is like TB 500, thymosin beta 4 or 500, it's called. Like that stacks really well with BPC 157. But to go into probably the biggest ones right now are the GLP-1 category. And this is working on this incretin protein that's from the Gila monster that actually is a poison from the Gila monster that actually slows down digestion. And what we've found is that when you are tapping into increasing GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide, you slow down digestion, you enhance insulin sensitivity and blood glucose control. You also seem to have an effect on the gut microbiome, and some people are healing some gut dysbiosis. And there's certainly side effects. If you go high enough with these GLP-1s, in particular the first generation, things like semaglutide, which is Ozempic, and Mounjaro, there's a lot of constipation or diarrhea, there's heartburn, in particular, like around the time of injection and at higher doses, you can get pretty numerous side effects. But these second and third generation GLP-1s are much less in side effects and actually much greater in terms of fat loss because they're working on multiple mechanisms. So first generation worked on GLP-1 alone. Second generation is working on GLP-1 and GIP, which is like tirzepatide. And then the third generation, which is retatrutide, it's storming the internet right now. Reta is what it gets called for short. That works on 3 mechanisms. It's working on GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon, and it's quite powerful. In a matter of half a year, I believe was the studies, if I'm remembering correctly, those that were using anywhere from 6 to 12 milligrams, which is where you titrate up to. You start at maybe a half milligram or 1 milligram. You titrate up to, I say don't go above 6, because in the study there was no additional fat loss or benefit above 6, just side effects. So don't go above 6. And I would say this is true of any of these GLP-1s. Don't use them at full dose. Some people are doing quite well microdosing, literally at 1/10 the kind of max dose. But what they're seeing is 28% weight loss for those that were obese in that half a year, which is staggering, without them doing much on an exercising front or changing much of their lifestyle factors. So if you were to exercise, if you were to be certainly working out and weight training, and certainly improving your diet, not just reducing calories, you could see pretty tremendous results with something like Retta. Just be careful with it. And a big factor for all these GLP-1s is because it's slowing down amino acids to the plasma. In particular, I mentioned leucine before. So leucine is that driver of muscle protein synthesis. So when it's slowing that down, because I told you dileucine made it super fast, GLP-1s are making it super slow. So on GLP-1s, we're never optimizing muscle protein synthesis. So take a lot of protein when you're using a GLP-1. Take dileucine, my ingredient, to optimize muscle protein synthesis. Take HMB to prevent muscle loss. It's an anti-catabolic. Higher protein, dileucine, HMB, and creatine last. Like those would be like your perfect blend to protect muscle when you're in a hypocaloric state and slowing down digestion. So those things become really important. And then I would also say up your collagen and your D3, K2, make sure that's there, because if you're losing muscle, if you're catabolic, we also have seen bone mineral density go down. So, use these things if you're going to use them under doctor's supervision. Use them for a short period of time and not indefinitely, chronically, and then do it the right way. Like I'm saying, don't macrodose it, don't go in too fast, and then make sure you're getting your protein in these other supplements.
Would you say peptides are really in their own category? They're not necessarily a supplement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. Because they're not Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act DSHEA compliant, so they're not considered a dietary supplement. While most of these things that are called peptides occur naturally in the body, the GLP-1s do not. While GLP-1 itself does, incretin protein does, these modified versions of it that are tirzepatide and retatrutide and Mounjaro, these do not occur naturally in the body. They are modified so that companies can patent them in big pharma. So they're definitely not natural things that are occurring in plants or something like that where we could call it a dietary supplement. They are its own class, yes.
Interesting. But it's not invasive. Could you say that it's a natural way of healing?
Many of the peptides are, like certainly BPC 157, TB 500, MOTC, which is a mitochondrial enhancer, occurs naturally in the body. And then these things that are GH secretagogues are pretty powerful to increase your pituitary's own production of growth hormone instead of taking bolus exogenous outside of the body growth hormone that's not going to work as well as your own body releasing its own growth hormone. So things like CJC or ipamorelin, tesamorelin, these are all growth hormone secretagogues and very popular as well. So those are things that you could also potentially stack with something like Retta.
Cool. That just goes to show, your body has the regenerative capabilities to heal itself.
100%. These are signals. And that should tell you that if I optimize, if I teach my body what healing feels like, looks like, then I can potentially do this myself. This is just like facilitation and in the deep inner work that we talked about, like having meditation or mindfulness practices, or it gets easier with time. And once you do that for a long enough period of time, you can take off the training wheels and you can do it yourself. The body is incredible.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Shawn, the information or the conversation that we've had today with all the information, I think is going to be, it's going to be incredibly helpful for me. And I hope it's going to be incredibly helpful for all of our viewers out there, because it is literally the roadmap to take your life into your own hands and excel and become your true authentic self. Integrate into who you are. Like, let's take over the world through our own true selves. Instead of just being trapped into who we think we are, who we're comfortable being, right?
Who we're told to be.
Yeah. And it's like, let's take this baseline of pain that I was talking about and let's move it forward for once. Let's feel how it feels to feel better than you felt the previous day. And once you start to feel that, that will be your fuel for moving past all this. It's not giving anything up. It is deciding to take something else on. And when you decide to take something else on in the form of empowering your own life, that is the most enriching thing that you can do.
Well, you know what? It naturally happens when you're reaching for that ring in front of you, when you're swinging on those rings, and you got to grab that ring in front of you, you naturally let go of the one behind you.
Yes. I love that. Together, we're naturally going to let go of the wrong, and we're going to move forward together, Shawn, because this is just the tip of the iceberg for things that you and I are going to do together. It's an honor to call you my friend. I'm so grateful that we got to film episode number 1 in this sauna.
Yeah.
I've got all the love for the world, you.
Oh, thank you.
I have all the love in the world for you, my friend.
Oh, thank you. And if anyone has any questions or whatever, you can DM me at Shawn Wells, ShawnWells on Instagram or the other platforms. ShawnWells.com. I have all the stuff about working with me speaking, me formulating, just cool content, my stacks, like everything's free. Newsletters, breaking down the latest research. It's all free.
Right at the grasp of your fingertips.
Yeah.
So get out there and grab it. Work on that grip strength.
Yeah.
Right? And make life a better day today than it was yesterday.
Absolutely. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, with that being said, we're going to go probably for another cold plunge because why not?
Let's go.
Until next time, stay sweaty out there, everybody.